Hey everybody, what's going on? It's Adam Vanera from GAWDA TV. We've got an amazing show for you today. GAWDA's Professional Compliance Seminar takes place from March 22nd to March 26th. We had the opportunity to speak to GAWDA's consultants about the incredible program. You don't want to miss this. But before we dive into that, we are joined by GAWDA's Executive Director, John Ospina, to discuss the 2021 Spring Management Conference. Early bird registration for this event is open now, so click the link in the description for more information. We also debut a new segment, so stay tuned. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Datacor.
The packaged gas and welding supply industry needs a comprehensive software tool to track assets and effectively manage price volatility, procurement challenges, and new regulatory requirements. Datacor ERP does all of this and more. Our software helps gas distributors refine shipping and inventory processes, improve production and distribution models, track assets, and achieve long and short-range planning with greater accuracy. Start using data to grow your business, enhance your productivity, and enable success with Datacor.
Joining us now is John Ospina. He's the Executive Director of GAWDA. John, thanks so much for being part of the show today. Early bird registration for the 2021 SMC opened last week. Is there anything specific you want to communicate to GAWDA members about this year's SMC?
After not meeting for more than a year, I think it's important that we move forward and reestablish face-to-face meetings to strengthen the relationships between our member companies. Our industry is built on these relationships. We see them as a way of sharing information and ideas that help our members improve their businesses. And this year's SMC is the first step in this process.
The registration email that was sent to GAWDA members specifically calls out safety information for this year's SMC. What safety precautions are being put in place to ensure that the SMC can be conducted safely?
Our member safety always comes first, and with that in mind, we put together a safety and wellness protocol list that specifies all of the protections that we put into place while our members meet at the SMC. The information can be found in the Safety and Wellness tab in the registration page for the SMC, as well as below all of the events in the tabs, the agenda tab.
This year, SMC will be a bit different than previous with a day of educational tracks. Why is this going to be so exciting for the attendees?
This year's education is very exciting. We have over 21 presenters at the SMC. These are industry people that we all know. They're experts in their fields, and they're here to share all the information that they have with members. And we think that our members are going to get a lot out of this.
One of the things that Abity mentioned at the 2019 convention was that for attendees to get most out of the educational tracks, they needed to send multiple representatives. Can you discuss why that's the case?
Absolutely. There's a lot of great information at the education tracks. We have 5 topics: family businesses, safety and operations, HR leadership, technology, and sales and marketing. Because we have so many presenters and presenting these topics on 3 different time periods, the more people you can send, the more of these topics you can have them cover, and the more information they can take back home with them.
We haven't met in over a year. What are you most excited about for this year's SMC?
I think I'm most excited about getting everyone together face to face and getting back to a period where we can meet, share information as we've done in the past, and move forward past this pandemic. I think we all need to bring this to a close as quickly as possible. We know that vaccines are being distributed. People are going to be safer. We have protocols in place. So I'm very excited and very confident that everyone's going to have a very good experience coming back to face-to-face meetings.
John, thanks so much for the information. We'll see you soon.
Gas distributors, tank repair shops, cryogenic techs. Live the Equigas experience and find out for yourself. Send us a picture and we'll help you identify what you really need. We have the equipment you need with the service you deserve. Make your life easier. Give us a call today. We answer the phone and ship the same day.
The GAWDA Connection is a twice-monthly newsletter about all things gases and welding. We would now like to present a new segment called Member News. Member News is brought to you by Anthony Products, 4 generations strong since 1958. The following headlines have all run in the GAWDA Connection and can be found on GAWDAmedia.com or the GAWDA Buyer's Guide. We would like to start by extending our condolences to those in the GAWDA family who have lost a loved one recently. So far this year, we have had to say goodbye to John C. Behringer, David Jordan, Lorena Kennedy, Rod Sparger, Doug Perry, Bill McKenna, and Robert E. Smith. In other member news, Roberts Oxygen acquired Atlantic State Specialty Gases. Chart acquired 2 companies, Sustainable Energy Solutions and Cryo Technologies. Sky Oxygen Company merged with J.C. Dawes. American Welding and Gas acquired Axman Propane. F&M Mafco opened a new Kansas City facility. And Mike Hopsicker acquired 100% ownership of Ray Murray Incorporated. If you have member news that you'd like to see in the GAWDA Connection or a future episode of GAWDA TV, click the link in the description below. And now we welcome to the show GAWDA's DOT consultant, Mike Dodd. Mike, thanks for being part of the show today.
Glad to be here, Adam.
The 2021 GAWDA Professional Compliance Training will run as a webinar this year. You've been involved with the training for years. Can you explain why members should attend and what they could expect to get out of it?
Sure. Tom and I have been doing this professional consultants. Actually, it's in-person seminar for all these years. This will be our 12th year, but last year and this year we're having to do it via webinar because of obviously the COVID issue that's going on. And we'd much rather prefer to do the in-person, but this is a way that we can talk to our membership. We basically, Tom will do an FDA program, I do a DOT program, and this last year, since we brought on Marilyn Dempsey as our OSHA EPA security person, we've now added a segment for her as well. And like I said, we've been doing it for 12 years. We have a lot of people attend. We've got a lot of regulars. We've got a lot of brand new people that are joining as compliance people. And so we're really excited to do our training program for them.
You are giving a 2-part presentation on Wednesday and Thursday. Can you give attendees a preview of what you will be discussing?
Sure. And we basically, I do 2 different kind of programs. This particular one's going to be filling high pressure cylinders, filling carbon dioxide cylinders, liquid containers. The actual filling process is going from A to Z of how to do that. And then the last half of the second day, we do a Q&A session. And this year, like I've done in the past, we'll have Rick Schweitzer joining us to give us an update on the up and coming, the things that are happening, and the latest and greatest. And that's always come across very well with the members.
Speaking of current good manufacturing practices, you've been vocal about how you fear that COVID has led members to possibly allowing training and compliance to get out of date. Can you expand on that and what you fear the repercussions could be?
You know, last year was crazy for us. Everybody, their lives got turned upside down. The businesses got turned upside down. And so the last thing on their mind was keeping their employees trained and current, et cetera. I mean, a lot of our businesses were just trying to survive and recover and get going again. And we understood that. My concern is that they'll be taking care of business. And I fully understand. You got to take care of that customer, take care of business. You got to get that profit to the bottom line for the business to stay in business. Training seemed like it was going to a back burner. And so I was concerned that training has to go on. It's required every 3 years on the DOT portions. And I just was making sure that the members knew that there were other options. The in-person things weren't happening. So we moved almost all of our stuff over to GoToMeeting. And we just wanted to make sure that the members were keeping their people trained because DOT and the other organizations, they are starting their audits again, and training is always a topic they look at.
Thanks, Mike, for being part of the show. You have a great day.
You're welcome.
Joining us now is GAWDA's Homeland Security, OSHA, and EPA consultant, Marilyn Dempsey. Marilyn, happy to have you on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
You'll be presenting at the 2021 GAWDA Professional Compliance webinar next week. Can you give viewers a quick preview of some of the topics that you will be discussing during the webinar?
Certainly. So my portion of the presentation is about components of a safety program. A solid safety program is one of the foundations to build a good attitude towards working safely. Also, less accidents and less injuries mean less money out and more profit for the company. But then also we have some customers who insist that we have a safety program in order for us to get the contract. Insurance companies also look very favorably on companies with a safety program. And then we have hazard communication, which is part of the safety program. And the new administration is asking OSHA to take a much more active role than the previous administration. And one of the things they're going to do is they're reviewing and potentially changing the hazard communication program. Those changes can affect us a lot. They're looking at revising the chemical classifications, health and physical hazards. They're also the big ones, changing labels and SDS. So we'll cover the parts of the safety program, what's necessary, including training and all the other amenities that go along with it. But then we're also going to have tips for implementation.
One of the topics that you're specifically discussing is coronavirus. Can you give some background on just how much COVID has changed OSHA and DHS standards in the past year?
So I came on board at the beginning of COVID, and it was a really interesting start. It was start running. DHS really hasn't changed their standards, their regulations, but they have taken steps like all of us. They are protecting their employees. They went from wearing just face shields to they had little stands. Now, sometimes you go into airports and they have boxes around them. OSHA started out a little bit slow. Matter of fact, GAWDA consultants came out with business considerations for COVID prior to OSHA. But when OSHA did come out with them, we found out that we were totally in alignment with them. That was the nice part. Now they're starting to crack down a little bit more on COVID, where they might see that employees are put at risk because of COVID. We talk a lot about that in the roundtables. OSHA is also considering this year putting in a COVID-19 standard. Now, currently, there's one state that has a standard, and that's Virginia. So I would expect some more news about that coming up in the future.
You have been a GAWDA consultant for over a year now. Before that, you got to experience GAWDA as a member. Have you gained any new insight on the consultant process that surprised you since you started?
Yeah, in the past, I was the one calling saying, help. Now, the one really interesting thing I found was the consultants really look forward to the communication from member companies. There's such a variety of questions, and people are busy that, they're running companies, and it's gratifying to be able to give people practical measures to take care of it rather than theoretical. And let's face it, no one has time to go through and read through the regulations and the nuances and how do they fit in.
Can you give members one last piece of advice on how they should be taking advantage of the GAWDA consultant program?
I encourage member companies to contact the consultants. We're here to help you with questions. I would encourage you to put those questions and give us some context or background, because that makes finding the answer we can feel more accurate answer, and we can give it in a more timely fashion.
Thanks, Marilyn. Have a great day. Thanks for being part of GAWDA TV.
Thank you.
Chart's new Orca VHP delivery system provides the capability to fill tanks operating at pressures up to 500 psig, eliminating the need for costly and time-consuming tank blowdowns. Coupled with our existing automated fill system, this new pump technology allows faster delivery times without interrupting ongoing facility operations. These advantages lead to greater flexibility in scheduling and more deliveries per day. We welcome GAWDA's FDA and medical gases consultant, Tom Badstubner, back on the show. Tom, great to see you as always. How are you?
Great to be here.
You will be presenting at the 2021 GAWDA Professional Compliance Webinar. Can you give an overview for GAWDA members who aren't familiar with the training of what this program is and why it's important for GAWDA members to join?
Well, thanks. Good question. So Mike Dodd and Marilyn Dempsey and I do the professional compliance training twice a year. In non-pandemic times, in the springtime, we are hosted at Chart Industries in Ball Ground, Georgia, just outside of Atlanta. And in the fall, we're hosted at Weldcoa at Aurora, Illinois, just outside of Chicago. So that makes 2 sessions a year, and we alternate the formats. In one year, we do pure training. In the other year, we do audit survival. It's really the same content from 2 different directions. And for the FDA, pure training means current good manufacturer practice training. And audit survival is how to survive an FDA audit. We find that this intensive train the trainer level of training is more detailed than we can accomplish in our normal monthly training sessions. It also allows us to let the members know what latest regulatory and enforcement developments are coming.
How will the program being virtual this year rather than in person change the format of the training?
Yeah, this virtual training is a lot different than it used to be in format. And we've had to learn a lot of things. This year, we're trying a completely new format. For example, last year, we did basically the same format as the in-person training, but we did it virtually. And this year, after counseling with each other and with the members, we're trying something different. Instead of 2.5 full-time days, we're going to be training for 5 mornings. The idea is to be less disruptive to the normal business operations at the plants, which we can do since we're not traveling. And also hope that the attendees have better retention and less fatigue and overload from all the material that they receive. Otherwise, it's the same content as the face-to-face meetings in a different format, though. We'll let you know how this works.
You're giving a Train the Trainer presentation on a variety of FDA and food and beverage current good manufacturing practices. How much do those change year to year?
So, of course, we refresh the material every time we present it. But the core regulations, and mostly the FDA enforcement, have not really changed a lot from previous years. And so the material is much the same as previous, and it's a reminder with some small changes. However, there are some new items that we're covering this year. For example, this year the FDA has caused, or the pandemic rather, has caused the FDA to significantly reduce the number of on-site inspections. And they're using new tools like the FDA Form 4003 to conduct remote assessments. We're going to talk about how you use that form and best to answer the survey. Also, the FDA has begun to enforce their new data integrity and underlying regulations. This has the greatest applicability to those medical gas companies using gas chromatographs. However, this year we're also showing how the data integrity ideas also apply to less technical records like fill logs and Servomex oxygen analyses. For normal medical oxygen plants, it's not necessarily a lot more work. It's more about knowing the definitions the FDA is using and using special care in the areas that the FDA considers to be especially sensitive, like having accurate records, contemporary records, legible and attributable records.
Tom, great to see you as always. Thanks again for being part of the show.
Thanks, Adam. Take care.
Finally, welcome back is GAWDA's Government Affairs and HR consultant, Rick Schweitzer. Rick, great to see you as always. How are you?
Hey, good to be here again.
For a new or prospective GAWDA members, can you summarize what the GAWDA Consultant Program is and how it's such a great benefit for GAWDA members?
Well, there are four of us. There's myself, Mike Dodd, Marilyn Dempsey, and Tom Badstubner. We each have different areas of expertise. We all know different things, but we work very closely together. And most important, we each have over 30 years of experience in working with the welding and industrial and medical gas industry. So we know your businesses. We've heard virtually every question that's ever going to be asked. If one of us doesn't know the answer, we'll find out from another one. And the best thing is it's a member benefit. You don't pay us. I'm a lawyer. When's the last time you called a lawyer and didn't get a bill? We try to answer your questions same day or next day. And if we don't know it, we know where to find it.
Each consultant has its own areas of expertise within the program. What areas do you specifically concentrate on?
Well, I am, as I said, I'm a lawyer and I'm the association's general counsel, but I can also handle basic contracts and human resources, legal questions for members, antitrust questions, and then a lot of regulatory compliance issues too. My primary area of expertise is in DOT issues, trucking, hazmat, but I handle lots of other various things as well. In the past year, I've had to learn things like PPP loan requirements and issues dealing with COVID. And that's brought up a whole raft of new human resources issues as well, things like sick leave and unemployment benefits. So I've had to learn new stuff, but hopefully that's been a benefit to the members.
With the new administration, can you give a quick overview of some of the regulatory changes that the DOT has enacted or has signaled that they may?
Yeah, there are a number of things that I think are on their radar screen that are going to affect GAWDA members. Probably the biggest one is liability insurance. Right now, most GAWDA members have $1 million policy coverage. That's the minimum required under the hazmat regulations. I could see that going up perhaps as much as 2 or 3 times in a rulemaking, simply because the liability minimums have not changed since 1985. And the Obama administration began an investigation into whether or not they should increase the liability insurance minimums and found that just based on inflation, an increase of 2 to 3 times the current minimums was probably required. So I could envision this administration taking a similar approach. I think there will also be an effort to revisit the driver hours of service regulations. In fact, I had a conference call yesterday with the new deputy administrator at the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, and we talked about this. And I told her that most companies and their drivers were very happy with the changes in hours of service that went into effect last fall. But I got the sense from that conversation that FMCSA was likely to revisit those issues, particularly the short haul exemption, which allows drivers within a 150 air mile radius and who return to their origin within 14 hours to be exempt from electronic logging devices and paper records of duty status. So that might well change too. I think there's going to be a big push towards encouraging companies to adopt electric vehicle technology. There will be highway legislation this summer, most likely, that will promote electric vehicles and probably provide a great deal of funding for additional charging stations at rest stops, truck stops, and various places along the interstates. I think that there will likely be a rulemaking on sleep apnea regulations. Right now, the medical examiners have a great deal of discretion on when a driver should be sent for a sleep apnea screening test and what treatment options would be available once a driver is diagnosed. And then finally, I think that there will be an emphasis on treating more workers as employees rather than independent contractors. There's already been a change in the law in California, and I envision that the Congress will likely adopt the California rule, which will make it much more difficult to treat workers as independent contractors. The idea being that employees would be eligible for union organizing, number one, but also employee benefits, number two. it most likely will also mean that there will be fewer job opportunities available if that is passed. So in general, I think the Biden administration is focused on labor issues and on environmental issues. Those seem to be the two biggest themes that I can discern from their regulatory and legislative policies so far.
Thanks, Rick. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.
Sounds great, Adam. Talk to you.
Cavagna's new CGAR residual pressure valve eliminates the need to search for the right filling adapter. Our RPV is the fastest filling valve in the industry because we understand that time is money. At Cavagna, wherever gas is used, we are there.
Thank you to everybody who has made GAWDA TV such a success so far. We can't wait to be back with you in person at this year's SMC. Once again, to register for the show, click the link in the description below. Any supplier member who is interested in advertising in the SMC issue of Welding and Gases Today, please contact your GAWDA media rep ASAP. The ad deadline for this issue is March 22nd. This is a great issue in that it'll have bonus distribution in Nashville at the SMC. Advertisers in this issue who also have a booth will be listed in the featured exhibitors guide, which includes attendee photos. It's a great way to get your face out there prior to the event. We will be back on April 1st to discuss the dynamics of working in a family business. We will also have more great SMC content. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Adam Vanderhoof.